Aloha! If you've been following our channel since the beginning, you'll know that we are working on our food forest for the past 8 years or so, which coincides with roughly when we started our YouTube channel. So 8 years now into the journey, we are in a phase where we're kind of looking back at the past and retrospectively figuring out what things went wrong and what things worked out. And in this video, we want to share with you guys the top 7 mistakes that we made in the beginning when we started our food forest. And we feel really inspired to share this now because we are seeing kind of like the consequences of those mistakes.
Yeah, so almost one mistake for every year. Seven
Yeah.
mistakes in 8 years.
But we made all of them that
Probably, yeah.
first year.
This is all about making mistakes in the beginning.
So if you are a fan of our content and you're a fan of Food Forest and mistakes, definitely hit the like button so that you can let us know that you really like our videos and we can keep feeling inspired to make more. Let's get to the first mistake. The first mistake we made was pretty major, and this is something that we have realized at this point was really big. So this first really big mistake was not establishing a comfortable living situation when we first got started. So back in 2016, we got this property and it was completely overgrown with native trees and weeds and all this kind of stuff. And we were just coming into the land, and our goal was to camp in the land while working in the land. And that worked out for us for about a month. We were camping under a carport with a pallet bed and a air mattress that deflated every day, and just had like a little wood stove, not wood, a little propane stove.
Camp stove,
Yeah, a little camp stove, not even propane.
backpacking, small kind.
Yeah, just like very basic. And we thought that we could do that without having like a real concrete plan of what our housing was going to look like. So we're like, let's just camp and figure it out. But over time, we just like never really figured things out, and we started working on the land, and that kind of took up most of our energy, and we put the living situation in the back burner, which just made everything really difficult.
Yeah, so in the beginning, we were so excited to start working on land and build the food forest that it didn't really matter as much our living situation, and we were just running on excitement to get started. So, well, before we knew it, we had so much to take care of because we planted so much that we really neglected improving our living situation, which is really important. Like after you work all day and you're sweaty and you need a shower, maybe you get done later in the day and it's really cold and you need a hot shower.
Yeah.
So,
So if you're going to be working the land every day, especially just like raw land, like cutting things down and moving, hauling stuff like by hand, you need to feel rested and rejuvenated after every day's of hard work. So having a nice comfortable place where you're safe and dry and a nice comfortable place to lay down at night is definitely very important for the success of your food forest in the long term.
so it may seem like it has nothing to do with food forests and everything, but it's a common mistake here because a lot of times the land is raw and it has no house and you just want to get started growing food. So for anyone just starting, very good idea to get those things squared away first before you go really heavy on the food
Mm-hmm.
foresting.
And also from there, once you establish your housing on the property, it's so much easier to plan around that for the rest of your food forest. Having that foundation of like your home base is super important.
Essential. So the second mistake was not fencing the yard for pig protection. And that was something we delayed about 2 years, and we kind of forgot about it over time. And we thought maybe we're lucky, no pigs are coming and they're not terrorizing us. But we did get hit, and we got hit really hard by one big giant boar. He'd come every night for a month and just dig up our garden beds, dig all around our fruit trees. It was a really bad idea to not put in pig fencing
Mm-hmm.
protection.
Yeah, because you could have had all this work done on your land for like years, no issues with pigs. And then suddenly pigs come, which they will eventually come, especially now that so many properties are getting cleared and the pigs are being displaced and they're just
Mm,
trying to look for food and anywhere that they can get to that's not fenced. So all your hard work over all those years just like completely destroyed because they could kill your trees if they dig up the roots or dig up the bark and just like destroy
mm.
the whole place, turn up mud and makes it super difficult to like have access to paths. So before you start putting trees on the ground, you got to protect that perimeter from the pigs.
Yeah, I describe it as reverse Christmas, where you wake up in the morning and everything in your yard's destroyed. They've taken all your sweet potatoes, and it was just terrible waking up every morning for a month dealing
Mm-hmm.
with it. And it's almost like you're moving backwards at that point because you have to fix things instead of uh, progress things.
Right.
So
And we did have a video talking all about our pig problem journey. We'll link it in the here and in the description.
this is something we were warned about, and we didn't take the warning serious. So hopefully you do. Don't start anything until you have the proper protection for your crops.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's something that you have to budget when you're starting out. Definitely try to make it happen as
At
a
least
top priority before you lose
partial, like
all.
you said, yeah.
Yeah, before you waste all that money on new trees that are eventually not going to make it because they got destroyed by pigs.
Mm,
So the third mistake we made was clearing too much of the land at once and going too big with planting so much acreage and getting too excited in the process too quickly before having had any experience with a little bit of acreage.
yeah, so this one I think is one of the most important, mainly because you don't want to make big mistakes. Small mistakes are great to learn from, but when you're making big mistakes, you're wasting time and money, and it could just affect you mentally and physically too. Just it's really bad,
Yeah.
and it's something we did. A lot of people do it. Also, we were warned about starting small. The good thing about starting small is you can really perfect a system and then replicate it. So you can make small mistakes. Okay, let me try a little bit different this time, and go from there.
In our situation, our property is 3 acres, and initially we came in and cleared about 2 acres, mostly just like weed whacking all the native fern and weeds and taking down some of the weed trees. And because everything was like cleared, technically, we felt like we had to plant all the fruit trees in that whole 2 acres. And that was like way too much for us newbies. Like way too much.
Yeah, because once you start clearing and planting, you have to do maintenance, and the more, obviously, the longer it's going to take. All right, so the fourth mistake, also a really bad one for us, was leaving the ohia trees. Now, at first, it seemed like a great idea because they're beneficial in a way to create a shaded area for you to work in, but also for your young fruit trees to not be out in the sun. But because of a thing called rapid ohia death here, what ended up happening was over time the trees would just one after the other die, and it's rapid. It's like one day to the next, all the leaves are gone.
Mm-hmm.
The tree is gonna die. There's no way back. So what happened over time is I would have to drop those trees, and if I had too much stuff planted densely and there's no way to drop it down without hitting something that I intentionally planted, was really hard to clear those down afterwards. So although they are very beautiful trees and they're native, it's just something that if you want to plant food, um, you can leave them. Here's the caveat. You have options if you do want to leave them. You can always just leave yourself a way out. So don't plant so much densely around it. Always leave somewhere where you know that if it dies, you can drop it in a direction where you're not going to affect anything. And this also goes for other trees as well. Anything that's so big that if it falls over in a windstorm, or you do want to cut it down at some point, say it's an albizia and it's just taking over your whole yard, you really want to deal with that stuff first and not let it get out of control.
Mhm.
The best thing to do is always keep trees at a manageable height for yourself. You really don't want to be hiring somebody to take trees down or limbs because it's very expensive. So I would suggest just do what you can handle. And
Well,
I've gotten,
if you have like if you do have a giant tree that you know is going to be an issue long term, you got to invest in somebody to help you take those big trees down.
yeah,
You can,
before you start.
don't try to do it yourself if you don't have experience. It
Mm.
could be dangerous. The key here is to obviously clear as much as you can, but also plan. So you do want to keep some native trees on your property. I know I definitely would or do, because it's really nice having your native trees here. So have like designated patches where you can like keep these trees and you're not going to go in there and disturb any of the soil or any of the trees around it. So once they're like in a little protected spot and they're not being bothered, they're going to be fine. But if they're interplanted with other fruit trees or places that you're going to have like a driveway or something, once you like mess with the roots in any way, the fungus that causes rapid ohia death will get into them and they will die. So yeah, you want to kind of baby them and keep them protected and away from your where you're going to be having all your action and your fruit trees and all that.
Yeah, so just other options too. I just thought about, like, if you don't want to destroy a native forest, but you still want to plant a food forest, you can buy a lot that has no ohia, or it already has rapid ohia death and they're all dead. So then you don't have to feel bad about taking these trees down because they are
Mm-hmm.
very special. But also, like Paulina said, you can designate areas to where that you don't go, because just their presence and clearing and stuff will increase the likelihood that they'll get rapid ohia death.
So the fifth mistake we made was not being more deliberate and intentional with the selection of trees that we were planting on the ground. Um, for one example, is we heard about the plant sale and we just like went and spent a lot of money on like a ton of different fruit trees that weren't we hadn't like previously thought about. It was like, okay, this is the list, this is what's here. Like, oh yeah, that's good. Oh yeah, that's good. Sure, let's do that. Let's do that. And we didn't like really think it through and be like, do we really want this fruit? Do we love this fruit? Do we really want to have this? And like put our time and energy planting this tree and taking care of it for years to come. Another thing was that we planted a lot of seedlings from fruit seeds
Mm.
that we ate and we just started them. And we had like all these seedlings growing and they were all doing great. Like, wow, these trees, the little seedlings are growing so nice. And we just felt like this pressure to plant all of them on the ground because we didn't really know that certain trees don't grow true to seed.
So a lot of fruits do not grow true to seed. So that's one thing. If you do eat a fruit and you say, "This is the best fruit I ever had. I really want to plant this," just do a quick search or ask around people that know. Will this fruit grow true to seed? And if the answer is no, you probably need to search out a grafted variety or any
Mm-hmm.
kind of clone with air layering or something like that.
Yeah, and like grafting is something that's like that I would say is a little bit more advanced. So once you have more experience with trees, you could get into that. But just as like a starting out for newbies, like we were, it wasn't like in our radar to like, okay, let's plant these seedlings and then graft them a few years when they're a little bit bigger. So we wasted a lot of time planting little seedlings and things that we didn't care about that right now like don't exist or we just like neglected.
Sixth mistake we made was not investing in good soil, and this was pretty much all my fault because I didn't want to spend any money at all. I thought that we didn't need to, just plant a tree in the ground and it'll grow. So I didn't buy fertilizers or amendments either, and that's something, if you already do have soil, you can do. But here we had no soil. We were trying to plant in the soil that was here, which is just mud, and it's kind of a really fine organic compost.
Yeah, so what we did when we first got our trees. So in 2016, we got a bunch of trees, and we were like, let's put them in the ground. So we would just like dig a hole, and then we dug up a bunch of the rocks that were in there and sifted out the dirt that was in there, and then just planted the trees in that dirt, which is that muddy, mucky stuff that Michael was just talking about, and put the trees in there. And like most of the trees that we planted then like did terribly, and later on we tried fixing it, but still most of them just like were just stunted and not doing well. So that was a terrible mistake, because had we invested the money, which we did the following year, once we realized, oh, all these trees are not doing great, we realized we needed to use good soil. So we invested into a truckload of really good garden soil that had like all these amendments and fertilizers, and it was night and day. We planted our new batch of trees, and they were all just like significantly better, just growing greener, bigger, faster than the other trees. And it wasn't like that much more money to just like buy this truckload. It made everything so much easier and so much more worthwhile.
Yeah, and now we're not getting anything like that. That was like premium stuff. You can make your own much cheaper with all the ingredients by getting Hamakua soil, black cinder, making your own compost. So now when we get soil, we do sort of get those all those ingredients and mix our own so that it is more affordable. That was very expensive soil we bought,
It
but
was
it was
expensive.
good.
I didn't think it was that much.
Yeah, it was for what it was. It was a
No.
lot.
But it
Can
was worth
do.
it.
Yeah, it's worth it to see what the difference it made
Mm-hmm.
too. Good experience.
So the seventh mistake we made, and this is the last mistake on our list, which pretty much encompasses all of these mistakes, and this was not doing any research prior to getting started. And by not doing any research, I mean we didn't know anything.
Yeah, the first thing I wrote about it was not doing enough research, but Pauline said no, we didn't do any research, and
Yeah, we just
she's
were
right. We
know-it-alls.
didn't do anything. We kind of thought we knew what we were doing somehow. I don't
No,
know.
I didn't. I don't know. I thought he knew, but he
Yeah.
didn't know. So there's something to say about just like doing something and learning in the process from your own mistakes and everything, but it's never a bad idea to ask somebody that has like a little bit more experience than you do, or a lot more experience than you do, just for like some advice or even motivation tips or anything. So we could have just asked like the people at the nursery where we bought all the trees from, like, how should we plant these? But we didn't.
I mean, that could have been so simple, right?
I know. That first year, so 2016 was like our big mistake year. That year we didn't ask anybody for advice. We kind of just started, and then as we started, we were like, maybe we should look something up. So we started Googling like how to plant a banana tree or something like that. But it was not until that following year when we realized we didn't know anything and we needed help, and we attended the classes that Wade was teaching about planting in Puna, basically, that we learned so much, and all that information was so invaluable. And it's why we're where we are today and have the success that we have today in our food forest.
Yeah. So research could be classes that you find out about and you take and you learn that way.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have access to that at the moment, YouTube is great.
Yeah, or
And
even Facebook groups, like in your local community, that you can ask questions.
we do want to congratulate you guys because you are probably doing research as we speak by
Which
just
is,
by watching this video.
yeah. So good job. Congratulations. You should give this video a like because you are doing great. All right.
One more thing.
Sorry. Start over.
A pretty good resource to get started. I mean, we'll probably make more videos about this in the future, but Plant It Hawaii has like kind of a planting guide on their website, and it's kind of a recommendation island wide on how to plant a fruit tree. It's just kind of basic. It'll get you started. There's probably some extra things you can do that we talk about on this channel, but just for basics, and it's always there. Like if you ever forget, just go to the website, and it's pretty easy to just like check to see if you're doing things right, adding the right amendments and the right amount. So I just want to give them a shout out.
All right, so those are our 7 biggest mistakes we made starting our food forest. I hope that this list was helpful to you if you're just getting started and you don't want to make these same mistakes. Hopefully, we convinced you not to make them. But if you're like us, you probably want to do things your way anyway. And let us know in the comments what mistakes you're making, what mistakes you made, or what mistakes you want to make when you do get started. But yeah, we like learning from you guys in the comments, and I'm sure people reading them will learn from that as well. And again, don't forget to hit the like button if you do want to help us out. If you want to help us grow our channel, we really are trying to take this more seriously and make it better. And it helps us when you like it. And also let us know if you liked our microphones.
We got the saw model and the pruner model.
Yeah. Oh, shit.
Ooh, don't mess it up.
Sorry.
Did you cut it?
I cut it. No, I just opened it. It's fine. All
Oh,
right.
it shouldn't cut anyway.
Bye.
Ciao now, brown cow.
Toodaloo, kangaroo.
See you soon, big baboon.
Big Maboon. Let's go get me. Can't stay. Blue jay. Hit the road. Yellow toad.
Yellow toad. Man, they really stick to this.
So, cancel on here. Or leave now. Brown cow.
Transfer.